some funny sounds and sound effects. Welcome to the FiveStack, everybody. That is Zev playing with his soundboard, among other things. My name is Dean, of course. Oh, there we go. Yeah, a little music bed behind it.
Okay.
Yeah,
you want to do it? Let's do it.
Yeah, I like that. It reminds me of my radio show. Reminds me of radio history, which, by the way, was really funny. So today I went and got my haircut, and I ran into this guy, and he's like, "Are you Dean Blundell?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I used to listen to you on the radio all the time." And I go, "Oh, cool. Yeah, thanks very much. It's awesome. I love when people come and say hi and say nice things." And he's like, "Yeah, I like what you're doing now so much more." He goes, I didn't realize that that radio sucked as hard as it did until the advent of the internet."
It's true. It's true because the internet has freed a lot of radio broadcasters in a huge way. It really is. It's a good place to be. This particular internet, the Substack, is fantastic.
Yeah,
I love
dude.
everyone here. It's so great.
It's so like I was when we had Waj on yesterday, Wajad Ali, former Daily Beast columnist, incredible writer. He's got the Left Hook, which is a great Substack, massive following. And he said something yesterday. He was like, we can actually say the things that we want to say. Like he was just calling spades. Yeah. Epstein's a rapist. So is Ghislaine Maxwell, party of pedophile protectors. And he said something that really stood out in the podcast yesterday when we were kind of breaking down the Substack Live, which, by the way, you can go and check it out, where we broke down the entire Epstein victims press conference.
It was a good show.
By the way, it was incredible. Like 3,500 people watched that yesterday. It was live with us. It was awesome. But he said something yesterday that I thought was fascinating. He's like, we can actually tell the truth because we're independent. We just plain speak. And I'm like, And then, I kind of tuned around yesterday to see coverage of the Epstein Files press conference and how people were talking about it. And to an individual, he nailed it because they were waxing poetic, using language that isn't too hard on the ears, not upsetting people with the R word, not talking about Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and the importance of what happened yesterday in any meaningful way. It was all popcorn bubblegum bullshit. So, it truly is a remarkable place, Substack, and for us to be able to put together what we did yesterday. And I want to thank everybody for spending, almost 5.5 hours with us.
On the air. A lot.
And you stuck with us, and we hope that you benefited from it. And this is the only place in the world where these kinds of conversations, unfiltered, unvarnished, authentic, can actually happen with language. And I'm not talking about swearing. I mean, sure, we do a little bit of that, but with language that matters, not picking and choosing words that don't. And you know this from working for CBS and Global and CBC. I mean, you know that the powers that be go so over the top with not allowing you to speak in language that everybody can clearly fucking understand.
Standards and practices is what they call it. And every single news division has one of these people or a group of people that monitor everybody's, how they do things, basically. And they judge it against the standards and practices that have been put together maybe 30 or 40 years ago. I don't know, a long time ago. And they're very restrictive, and it's very difficult to break the boundaries of what you can report on traditional news channels or traditional television. It's just they restrict you to certain ways of speaking, certain kinds of connections. You can't sort of freelance your way, and you certainly can't do what you do here on a Substack, which is get really important people to really opine, like Lev and a lot of the other great people on Substack who are just able to share their inside knowledge live on a real-time basis as these stories are happening. Like getting his reaction real time out of the event yesterday was remarkable. It's that does not happen on traditional television. There's not the bandwidth, but there's also not a desire to go and cover the story. And it's just great that Substack can do that. It's really a unique and very revolutionary place, which makes me a little scared for it.
But yeah, I do too. Stuff like this usually gets turned around real fast, and some asshole billionaire from Silicon Valley walks in with a sink and tells everybody bought the place, right? So
exactly.
And the influence here is growing and growing and growing, and has been for some time. Just worth noting, Barry Weiss, who helped, she was kind of the first influencer for Substack, is going to be taking over at CBS News, which no. Yeah. Yeah,
that can't be happening.
Yeah, it is.
That cannot totally be happening.
Yeah.
She's going to be the president of CBS News?
You got that right. Yeah. You got it.
Oh, Barry Weiss.
Skydance CBS. Barry Weiss? Yeah, dude. You might have worked with her. That's your old stomping ground.
Her. I know of her. I don't know her, but she's certainly not She's got a history at the Washington Post, I think, or the New York Times, basically.
Yeah, and left because she was doing some content so people didn't like it, apparently, where she used to work, and she went to Substack, and she was recruited by Andreessen and everybody that put Substack together, and she was the first big name they kind of signed. And listen, I align with Barry Weiss on a couple of issues. One is anti-Semitism here in my country and in North America, and the constant and very pervasive attacks on the Jewish communities in my country. So for me, but I also don't align with Barry Weiss on almost every other issue, right? So, it's going to be interesting specifically because of, the chill in mainstream media, what Donald Trump has done to mainstream media, and then watching Barry Weiss, walk into CBS. And I just read that today. I could be wrong, but that's apparently, you might want to Google it, but that's a big one. Yeah.
What's really upsetting about it is, of course, she's really strong in anti-Semitism, but it seems to me that her incredibly quick ascent in the media world came with a lot of help from let's just call it Israeli influence operations in the United States.
Maybe. And she's a great writer. You can't argue with how good she writes, right?
She's a decent writer. Maybe she's okay. Maybe she's a good writer, but she comes from the opinion pages, as far as I recall. She held senior editorial positions at the Wall Street Journal. That's right. And then they had to get rid of her. There was a thing that they didn't love her work over there. And then she went to the New York Times. And that's where she had these other concerns. But I think she worked for the opinion pages, which doesn't really necessarily qualify you as a president of the
as a media executive.
No, this is a very different kind of world.
Well, hold it. Like let's be serious. We know why she's been put in that position.
Yeah,
because CBS got their PP slapped. Donald Trump fully owns them. Skydance, Redstone. If you understand the whole thing, and so they're going to put a loyalist in there, and they don't have to be qualified. Fuck. Pete Hegseth's the Secretary of Defense.
Right.
For crying out loud.
What's really going on is, the Skydance is owned by the Oracle Group, which is basically Ellison, right?
Yeah.
His son runs Skydance, and they're very connected to the Israeli government. They're very close to Bibi Netanyahu. Extremely close. I think that was part of the corruption trials. And there's, many connections. At one point, Bibi Netanyahu, I think, was offered a job as a director at Oracle because he was out of work at the time as a politician in Israel. So you've got someone who's, this is a company or a group of companies that is very connected to Israel and to Israel's intelligence groupings. And then here's another person, Barry Weiss, who is, potentially connected to those influence operations, let's just say that, who's now being appointed to one of the most important positions in news in America. This is very significant. You're basically looking at the Tiffany network, the network of Walter Cronkite, the network that gave us 60 Minutes, to turning into an Israeli mouthpiece. And we've seen it over the last few months as they've, contained the reporting of 60 Minutes. And they started supervising the reporting of 60 Minutes, putting Susan Sterinsky.
Yeah, that was after that Gaza expose.
Yeah. And then, so now they're monitored for the first time. And 60 Minutes independence has always been a very important thing. So for them to now step into the realm of editorial in that way, but now, the overseer, the main person in charge of CBS News, it's a very critical role, this role. It might not sound like CBS News is the biggest, news organization in the world, but they're a very, very respected news organization.
Well, 60 Minutes was like a 5-diamond brand, right?
Yeah.
Like 60 Minutes had this ability to be able to tell these hard stories, muck it up in the corners, and come out with an expose that would shock you, that would upset people, that would be antithetical to maybe the interests of the United States and their allies. But they did it. They told the truth. They told stories that mattered. Yeah. And watching them get neutered, watching their longtime producer basically say, hey, I can't do other people's work.
Bill Owens had to leave. He's a very respected exec producer. I think only the second or the third in the show's history. So it's for him to resign, and then they lost the previous president, McMahon. But now to see Barry Weiss is a real shock to the system. I can't imagine what the people inside CBS News are going through right now.
Sir, let me just explain something to people that Barry Weiss is not an executive. She's never run anything. She's an opinion writer. She's a Substack culture opinion writer. You have far more qualifications. You, as a former CBS producer, Global, CBC, you are far more qualified to run CBS than Barry Weiss.
I would argue that I am. I've got to.
You don't
I would
have
think,
to argue.
I mean, it's because running those morning shows, which is there's only 3 big morning shows in American television. There's the Today Show, Good Morning America, and whatever CBS decides to call their iteration. It changes all the time, but right now it might be called This Morning or Morning or something. No, it's always been number 3, but it's a very important network because those shows set the agenda for the day. Even though the size of audience is declining, all the major politicians need to watch that show in the morning because most Americans watch those shows in the morning, and they set the news of the day. And then they do the same thing at night at 6:30 or at 6:30, which is when the evening news happens. But now they've also all got these 24-hour networks, and CBS News has multiple 24-hour networks across the U.S. And it's because of their local stations that they are so attractive in some ways, because from an influence operation perspective, people want to buy all these networks for their advertising that they get off Paramount, all these other streaming services.
And they want the network
revenue.
effect, right?
Yeah. But it's very different when you control the most important influential shows. And so when you have like Face the Nation, or you have 60 Minutes, or those morning shows or the evening newscasts, those become critical to influencing the news in America. And if now one of those 3 has been taken over by basically an Israeli op, we're dealing with the degradation of our free press. We're dealing with a situation where, we're just seeing another great institution, which is responsible for the fourth estate, chipping away.
And let me remind everybody that's watching right now, we got a few hundred people that are kind of streaming in. We just started the FiveStack today. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. Zev himself is Jewish. You are you have family in Israel.
I was born in Israel. I was born in Israel.
Yeah. So it's not like, you're being anti-Semitic for the sake of being anti-Semitic in any way, shape, or form. You're talking about facts, truth to power. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't, really understand, is that, Netanyahu and the Israeli government have done an incredible job of making sure that certain people are in certain positions in media across, the United States, in North America, which, it's interesting because we're kind of gonna go down an interesting road here with this conversation, and not a conversation I enjoy having, because I am a ardent supporter of my Jewish friends that are being targeted by extremists here in Canada, and I see it all the time. Like, in Canada, 1% of our population is Jewish. They're responsible for 70% of the hate crimes. My friend Henry Wolfon sent that to me today, and it bears out. It's factual. This is not the Middle East. We are a country with a Charter of Rights and Freedoms up here in Canada that protects the way of life, living of every sect, every denomination, every culture, as long as you obey the laws of this land. And the Jewish community in Canada is vibrant and beautiful and wonderful. There's so many people. I mean, you could say the same thing about the Muslim community in Canada. Vibrant, beautiful, wonderful. But it's that small percentage that fucks it up for everybody else. And unfortunately, it's happening in their homeland right now with their fascist president. And, in Bibi Netanyahu. And it's what he is. A really telling conversation I had with my friend Spencer Rice, Kenny versus Spenny. I don't know if you guys remember the show. Spencer is a very good friend of mine. I've had him on the show multiple times. We actually joined us for election night. If you remember that.
This is fun. He's great. I love him.
Oh, it's awesome. And he's an ardent supporter of Israel. Culturally, when he said to me, I do this for my family, for my mother, for my father, and sent me a text yesterday. He goes, "Oh my God, I just kind of went down the rabbit hole. I just realized the prime minister of Israel is an authoritarian. Oh my God, right?
He is.
And so it's amazing because you see, and he told him his Jewish friends from the Jewish community had turned him on to that. So you're seeing, the Jewish community here in Canada really try to separate themselves from the acts of their government and endear themselves to the history of that country, which is beautiful. But again, we go back to this similar statement. Some of my best friends in Canada are Jewish, and they are petrified and they're not just getting it from, Russia, misinformation, extremists, the Hamas sympathizing dickheads. Like, they're not just getting it there where they're getting attacked at home and getting death threats and all that other stuff. They're actually embarrassed by their president, their prime minister. They're embarrassed because that's a massive, like, it's 80% of that country hates that man.
Yeah, a large number. He polls terribly amongst most Israelis, and most Israelis do not support his policies, or they're just being really quiet about how they don't support his policies. But there's definitely a silent majority in Israel which is really opposed to what Bibi is doing, and it's very important that people realize that. The other thing that's interesting is North American Jews tend to be more liberal, tend to be a little bit more on the left than on the right politically. Russia's Jewry tends to be more right-leaning, especially because they're sort of based on the Chabad tradition. And the Chabad tradition is exactly it's considered a sect by some people, but it is the majority of Jews in Russia or came from Russia. Now, they've been coming in droves to Israel over the years and to the United States over the years. In Israel, the Russian Jews now hold about 20% of the population there. So Russia has a pipeline into Israel's government, but they're also sending some of the richest people they've had in the world. We wrote about Semyon Mogilevich in The Greatest Heist this week. He's a big time mob figure in Russia. He's often referred to as Putin's Don, the guy who created Vladimir Putin and runs Vladimir Putin. This guy's old and he's been around a long time. He also is an Israeli citizen, as is a lot of these other big oligarchs. They have a dual citizenship and they're based in Israel. So you've got really powerful, rich Russian oligarchs that are living in Israel, influencing policy, influencing the leadership there. And that is why we often look at these alliances that Bibi is really aligned with Putin in so many ways. And that is very scary. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, I think Barry Weiss also comes from Chabad, which would be an interesting fact to find out. But I think if I remember correctly reading about her, she is that. So if that's the case, we've got this sort of authoritarian Chabad leading authoritarian kind of network that's taking over Israel, taking over Russia. Obviously, it's taken over Russia, and now it's taking over America, not only in terms of politics, but in terms of acquiring all these media assets. So this CBS deal is a very big deal, and having Barry Weiss run CBS News is shocking.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I didn't plan us talking about Barry Weiss, CBS News, Israel, Gaza, fascism, Bibi Netanyahu, but I love talking about it with you because you've got capital in this space, not just simply because you were born in Israel and you're Jewish, but you've got capital in this space because you understand the players. You're able to separate, the people of Israel, Jewish people, from their authoritarian president. And it was best explained to me by a friend of mine who's a very influential business guy in the city. And he said, what you have to understand is that, and I take this with me all the time when I think about, the tragedy that's going on right now, when I think about stories like the one we're talking about, he said, what you have to understand is that Trump is to America what Netanyahu is to Israel. Like, truly is. And Jewish people know that, most of them. And it's fascinating right now because you see everybody painting with that big, wide anti-Semitic brush, big, wide anti-Muslim brush. And listen, I like to paint with a big, wide. Oh, you just sent an email. Congratulations.
I'm sorry about that. I thought I did. I apologize.
No. You need to get a different email notification and keep it up all the time. That's
oh my God!
there you go. You got a response.
Oh my gosh! I thought I just turned this off. I did the do not disturb off.
But what you have to understand, no worries. What you have to understand, I think, for a lot of people is that. And I like to paint with a big anti-religion brush because I think religion is the plague of the 21st fucking century. I really, truly do believe it is. Every religion is man-made. Therefore, every religion to me is a fucking cult. That's going to turn some people off, and I get it. But that's my opinion. So like when I consider what's going on in the United States, how Netanyahu is hiding behind culture, hiding behind anti-Semitism, and then I think about what happened at Harvard the other day with Harvard, where a judge basically said, "You're using Jewish people to hide behind a smokescreen of anti-Semitism."
Mm-hmm.
Trump, give them their $2 billion in funding back. It's this hot topic that a lot of people want to stay away from because they're like, "Oh, I don't want to get involved. I got Jewish friends. Oh, I don't want to have it." But if you talk to people that have the ability to reason and critically think, they're able to separate Netanyahu from the Israeli people.
Yeah.
They're able to separate the tragedy in the Middle East right now from the people of Israel who fucking hate the guy. And they're able to understand the nuances. And that's what I love about the Jewish community here in Canada, specifically my friend group, is they get that. They're able to nuance that conversation. But, for a lot of people, and I know there's lots of people in here that are commenting on the tone and the tenor of this conversation, is that the same way Canada and Canadians look at Americans with love and gratitude, and it's the same way we look at Israelis, it's the same way we look at the Palestinians, it's the same way we look at, honest to God, Russians. Is we know the vast majority of those people are not represented by the acts and the fucking horrific events being perpetrated by the people that have absolutely fucking psyoped them into thinking that this is about a culture slash ideological slash religious war. So worth noting. And I think it's a really good important.
Yeah, it's really important. Well said. And it's just two things that just strike me from what you just said. One is to have the important conversations. We're not in a time where we could ignore important conversations. When there are topics that need to be discussed that are coming up in our world, we need to have that conversation. We've done too many decades now of burying secrets, of burying operations, of lying to ourselves, lying to the public about what's really been going on. And that is why we're in the situation we're in. I think the truth has to come out these days. And I think anytime that people tell you, oh, let's not have this conversation, it's a reason to have that conversation because there's
they tell you not to have the conversation because they don't want, they know that it's easy to pierce the bubble of that conversation, right? Yeah. Like it's the same reason why Netanyahu, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, who by the way has a 70% approval rating as of today in this country, like 4 months into his mandate, which is ridiculous. Mark Carney said he was willing to recognize Palestine as a state, as an independent state.
Yeah.
Within minutes of that tweet, Donald Trump put out a tweet. He's like, I guess tariffs are back on. Within minutes of that tweet, Netanyahu called Canada and Mark Carney an anti-Semite in a country that foments anti-Semitism. And it's this fucking ridiculous notion that so many assholes hide behind. And there's a specific, hard set of people that are involved in the Netanyahu government. There's a specific hard set of people that are very much like the Project 2025 people in the United States of America. Very, very much.
Except they're much more religious. They're much more religious. They're so far right on the extreme scale that it's really hard to have a conversation with them because they believe in things that are, God ordained. Well, okay, God said some things maybe, but it can make it into law now because, the world has changed and, your religious beliefs from way back then don't make sense today. But this is what they believe. But they're also extremely imperialistic and nationalistic.
So and punitive.
Yeah, absolutely punitive. And so, I've been the target of some of these groups over the years when I've done reporting that has been too, they said, pro-Palestinian or too anti-Israel. And even when I did the reporting on Epstein here on my own site, narrative.org, I got attacked for being a Nazi by, I'm not a Nazi. My grandparents, survived the Holocaust. I'm not a Nazi. It's shocking to get accused of that, but that is what goes on. People misuse these terms, misuses anti-Semitism as a way to suppress conversations or ideas they don't like as well. And yet it's an important conversation to have because it legitimately is happening across our society.
Oh, dude, I couldn't agree more. And God bless you for saying it, even though I say I don't believe in God. I don't. I mean, Google bless you for saying it. Is there is a conversation here that anybody should be able to have. The way that we know certain regimes, governments are acting and misrepresenting the people, like the people of the United States being completely misrepresented by their fascist small dick dictator Donald Trump is the exact same thing that is happening in Israel for the Jewish people. And it makes me sad. It makes Jewish people in Canada sad. And one of the things, and it's wild. I saw 2 videos this week, and the visuals are stunning. Here in Canada, a Jewish woman got attacked at a grocery store, and then another Jewish man got attacked in Montreal, beat by a Muslim extremist in a park in front of his kids while people filmed it and didn't do anything about it. And we're not that country. Canada is not that country. Canada is a country where the second that fucking happens, you're done.
Yeah.
Sanka. I don't care who the fuck you are or where you're from. You go after someone because of their belief system that's just walking through the fucking park or buying groceries. You deserve the slingshot into the fucking sun or to be deported back to wherever the fuck you're from.
Yeah.
And I would say that about any human being who attacks another human being in this country, according to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that we need to start applying that law fucking immediately. Immediately. And
it's so disgraceful.
Well, dude, I can't.
It's so not a Canadian. It's so like this is not Canada does not normally foster these kinds of things because there's a lot of free speech. You can protest anywhere you want, really, a lot of the time, say anything you want, pro-Palestinian or otherwise. So the need for violent attacks like this are so weird. They're so out of the blue. They're such outliers, and yet they're happening in our country. And I think we need to look at them more broadly and understand what are the causes of these. These are not. I mean, they're often looked at as just independent little, soul. What do you call them? Sort of self-oriented people who just decided they were going to do these attacks. But there might be much more to it, as we've seen in the United States with these mass shootings, and as we've seen elsewhere, that there's a common thread to a lot of what's going on, whether it's through disinformation or psyops or a whole bunch of other things that might be inspiring these kind of events to happen. Because it's so hard to believe that they are organically happening in a society that has so much freedom, that has so much ability for free speech, and where there's a lot of respect for everybody ultimately.
Yeah, no, and again, it is how Canada is governed, how it should be governed. This is a country that, in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, your ability to express yourself stops and starts at how you inflict pain on your neighbor or someone else. It's literally the first, portion of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, reasonable limitations. Yeah. We decide on those reasonable limitations because Canada is that country that has to be able to give people the ability to speak until their ability to speak is injurious to their neighbor. Mm-hmm. And there's this certain sect of Americana, a certain sect here in Canada, the Maple MAGA, that think free speech absolutism should come with zero consequences. Bull fucking shit. There are consequences for everything you say
absolutely.
all the fucking time. It's not a legal consequence. It's another consequence of you being ostracized. And you go, oh, look at me, I'm a victim. I mean, and that is exactly what they build this bullshit paradigm around, which is, well, I should be allowed to do and say whatever I want. Go ahead. But you should also be allowed to enjoy all the fucking consequences of everything you've said.
We should get to the top 5, but I'll just quickly want to say, I'm reminded by what Elon Musk did before the 2024 elections, which was run that illegal campaign he did in various swing states, which were targeted at Jewish people about Israel, but also targeted about Palestinians, all knocking Kamala Harris's policy from both directions, criticizing both her policy towards Israel and policy against Palestinians, and then marketing it to each of those groups. But why I'm pointing that out is he was trying to inflame those tensions. He was on purpose using Twitter and his this campaign to really inflame tensions between these communities, and it worked ultimately. Ultimately, that was a big issue in the elections. I wonder if that's what's causing some of the sparks of violence in Canada. Is there something deeper and more political and more geopolitical happening to cause all these things? But Who knows about the answer to that? We're not going to answer it today. Let's get to the top 5.
That was a sweet 30-minute intro, by the way, to the top 5.
What happened to the show? So RFK's Senate meltdown is today's number 5 story, but really it might even take up the rest of the show. I've got some clips from your deanblundell.substack.com. This was a horrific and terrifying event today when he was.
I loved it.
When he was in front of the Senate and the Health Committee, and his first time he's appeared there as
Senate Finance Committee.
Senate Finance Committee. Okay, thank you. And it's the first time he's appeared there since the CDC purge, where he's lost the CDC director, and various other people who are supporting her in terms of that. In terms of her not agreeing to his vaccine policy.
Susan Menares, the woman he hired, the head of the CDC. He hired her a month before, said she was unimpeachable. She was perfect.
That woman
fired her.
Not unimpeachable anymore.
30 days later. Yeah.
So now we've got measles and whooping cough is surging. But then this performance today, where he was so aggressive and so and weird, just weird. There was nothing about that made you feel comfortable about the nation's health and its direction going forward. But you've got it on your Substack, so why don't you tell us what happened?
Yeah,
I've got clips if you want to play.
You can. Yeah, we're going to get to a couple of them right now. But RFK Jr. was Johnny on the spot. I call him Ricky Joe Jitters, by the way, because he's like,
why? Why is he shaking?
He had a fucking virus because he wasn't vaccinated, and he
brain
cut
worm?
the head off a fucking. Yeah, I mean, he is like the most unhealthy fucking renegade I have ever seen in my life. Yeah. And he does push-ups on TV and tells people he's healthy and drinks blue iodine and fluoride's bad for you. Vaccines are bad for you. Listen, what happened today in the Senate, and I would encourage everybody to go and watch, go to deanblundell.substack.com, 50% off for the entire month of September, but please go and share this. It's really a best of the fucking worst moments of him getting absolutely fucking torched by the Senate Finance Committee today. Whether it was Senator Bennett, whether it was Bernie Sanders, whether it was, it doesn't matter who it was, whether it was Moscow. I mean, it was fucking unbelievable.
They were yelling at each other.
Yelling at each other. He's losing his fucking mind. He's like, I fired the head of the CDC. I can't even do his voice. I fired the head of the CDC because she told me that she wasn't trustworthy. I'm like, oh, wow. He said that to fucking Elizabeth Warren. It was a study in contrast of why you never put a heroin addict who eats roadkill in charge of the fucking Health and Human Services Division of the United States government. I mean, it really... It was truly fucking unbelievable. And this is, it's all going to get lost in translation. He was challenged on 1,000 different CDC employees signing a letter going, get rid of our fucking boss. He's a total moron.
1,000.
1,000 people signed on to it that currently or used to work for the CDC.
That people lose their jobs.
Put their name. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, they're going to.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need to fire more people. Like, it was just fucking, dude. I watched a solid 2 hours of his testimony today. He started by getting heckled with this woman in the back of the Senate Finance Committee hearing going, you're killing millions of children. And he got mad at that. Then he got mad at someone that brought receipts of him lying about firing the CDC president. Then he got angry again. He got angry at everybody. And there was one moment today that I thought was fucking fascinating. Bill Cassidy, who's a Republican, he's a doctor. Bill Cassidy walked him through. He goes, don't you think that like Donald Trump should get a Nobel Peace Prize for, Operation Warp Speed, where he came up with these COVID vaccines in record time? And Robert Kennedy Jr. goes, absolutely, I do. And he goes, so then explain something to me. Why are you trying to get rid of the COVID vaccines?
Yeah.
Why? And he's like, I could explain. And he couldn't explain. It was a lambasting. It was a roasting. He looked absolutely fucking petrified. Yeah. But the really cool part was how unhealthy this man was.
Yeah.
And I want you to listen to a clip. I don't know if you have it. You can get the Grassley clip.
Oh, yes, Grassley.
or you can get the Grassley clip.
Yeah, let's do it.
Or you can get the Bennett clip, doesn't matter, of him breathing so heavy into the microphone. You're like,
price transparency is important in drug advertising. I know that President Trump, Vice President Vance, and you are all supportive of this effort. When can I expect action
Sounds like
from
Darth
this
Vader.
administration on requiring drug companies to publish the price of drugs in their TV ads? Just in case.
This is the man who's running Health and Human Services right now. So he's in charge of your health. He sounds healthy.
He's a 25-year-old heroin addict that used to eat roadkill. Can you play the next clip of his breathing? There should be 2 clips in that post.
From the news media and from any other source. And obviously the easiest thing for our Democratic colleagues to do is to scare people because that is a powerful emotion, no matter what the facts may be.
It sounds like it's on one of these apnea machines, you know? It sounds like, oh my gosh. He does not
like
sound
he's wearing
well.
a CPAP in the middle of his fucking testimony. I mean, if it wasn't for the knowledge, just the visual of him going,
yeah. You almost would like to sleep next to him, if that's what he sounds like when he's awake.
He did that for 6 hours, dude.
Oh my gosh.
6 hours today. And to the point where an aide was like, Mr. Kennedy, you are breathing really heavily into the microphone. And and there was this older woman who leaned into his ear and he's like, okay. And he leaned back and he didn't breathe into the microphone. But within seconds, he's back breathing into the microphone. It was an undressing of a very unhealthy, very unknowledgeable, absolute fucking moron of a heroin addict who is America's. And dude, his performance was panned today by maggots too.
Oh,
like that's one of the things that I think a lot of people will take away from this. And I don't know if you found the clip. Let me.
Which one, Bennett?
Yeah, the Bennett clip is fantastic.
Yeah,
so is the Wyden clip. Yeah.
Let's listen to Bennett because it's right here. It's easy to play.
Thank you for your attention. In June, you fired every member of the well-qualified panel that was charged with recommending vaccines to the CDC. No one in your job has ever fired every committee member all at once. That month, you told the American people that you were, quote, going to bring great people onto the ACIP panel, not anti-vaxxers. Are you aware that one of the people you put on the panel, Dr. Robert Malone, claimed that the commonly used mRNA vaccine, quote, causes a form of AIDS and can damage children's, quote, brains, their heart, their immune system, and their ability to have children in the future? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
And Dr. Malone is one of the inventors.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Were you aware that he had that view when you appointed him to this panel?
Dr. That inventors of the mRNA vaccine.
That statement, Mr. Chairman, that statement is not true that Dr. Malone made, just as it wasn't true when you wrote that, quote, African AIDS is entirely different from Western AIDS.
Wow.
Are you aware that another one of these new members, Dr. Levy, wrote that, quote, evidence is mounting and indisputable that mRNA vaccines cause serious harm, including death, especially among young people? Yes or no? Are you aware that he said that?
I wasn't aware he said it, but I think I agree with it.
You agree with it? It's not true. It wasn't true when he said it, and it's not true when you said it. Secretary Kennedy, later this month, your new panel will meet to consider changing vaccine recommendations for American children. In addition to the COVID-19 vaccines, they are set to review recommendations for the hepatitis B vaccine, for measles, for mumps, for rubella and varicella vaccine, and the RSV vaccine. These are common back-to-school vaccinations for children over the industrialized world. If you change that, you owe parents in Colorado and across the country the benefit of some transparency, I think. If your panel recommends changing the vaccine schedule for children, do you anticipate that fewer children will receive these common vaccinations, yes or no?
What I would say, Senator,
the obvious answer is yes. Should parents and schools of Colorado be prepared for more measles outbreaks as a result of that, Mr. Secretary?
Yes.
How about more mumps outbreaks?
I do not anticipate a change in the MMR vaccine. ACIP is an independent panel. So.
I'm going to stop you there because it just got a bit, but that is stunning. That is the HHS secretary talking there about the health of America and American families, like real stuff that's going to impact everyone starting now. I mean, it's, your kids that may have felt like when you sent them off to school on any day in the past, you were sort of sure that they weren't going to come home with measles. But now you can't be sure that they're going to not come home with measles because they are coming home with measles everywhere across the country.
Mumps,
people are dying from measles.
Yeah. Listen, he was outed today as the village idiot. I mean, and that's hard to do in this Trump cabinet of idiots. Watching him try to walk it all back, watching him tell everybody that he agrees with guys like fucking hucksters like Robert Malone, who did not invent the fucking mRNA vaccine. He was a fucking lab tech that, was part of the research 25, 30 years ago.
Right.
So, he is, and the catch here is this, is that at the start of it, Senator Wyden was like, I'd like to put the Health and Human Services Secretary under oath. And Republican senators were like, nope, they voted it down. And the reason why they voted it down is so he could continue to bullshit, lie, and tell everybody that he knows better than every medical professional in the United States and around the world.
They did not let the CDC direct. They're not going to let her talk at all?
No, not at all.
This is ridiculous. He himself called her unimpeachable a month ago.
A month ago when he hired her, dude.
Yeah. It's his hire. Yeah. But he's now fired.
Stood next to her. Unimpeachable, professional. She's going to be great. And here's the rub, is the reason why he fired her is because he tried to change the vaccine schedule for kids, meaning you don't need MMR, you don't need polio, you don't need this, you don't need that, because he's anti-vax, because he's a fucked up worm-brain conspiracy loser. His entire family has co-signed that actual assessment of who this fucking guy is.
Yeah.
And so the head of the CDC, who's a Trump acolyte, was like, "Is too much. You're going to kill too many people." And he's like, "You fucking put the schedule through. We stop giving kids vaccines. Stop. The number one killer of kids under the age of 5 before 1900 diseases like the ones we vaccinate for. 1 in 3 people who died were under the age of 5 because of that. Now it's like 0.7% of kids that are born die from any of those diseases because we have fucking vaccines." And it was truly an unmasking. And if you need to fucking see the short strokes, go to my Substack, deanblundell.substack.com, read the story, and watch these clips because I've laid them out in real time.
And this is real lives that could be cost in the very near future, and it could involve your family. This is stuff not to take lightly. This is stuff that does impact your real day-to-day lives. And a call to your congressperson or senator right now is not a bad idea to tell them that you want this man removed from office because he's a danger to American lives. I mean, it's not an overstatement to say he's endangering your life right now by being in that position. Let's quickly, can we try to do these top?
Let's rip through them. Yeah.
So this is number 4. No. Yeah, number 4. The September jobs report came out, landing like a wrecking ball with hiring at a 15-year low. This is the great American economy that Donald Trump has built. It includes now layoffs at recession peaks and black unemployment hitting 7.2%. That's considered one of the traditional canaries in the mine in terms of understanding when the economy is about to crash. Spring job gains were revised down by 250,000 jobs less than they'd said that they created, while Trump's tariff taxes have compressed margins. But this is really a warning sign. Stagflation is here. It's not something that's coming in the future. It is beginning.
Yeah. Listen, there was a conversation that I was part of yesterday with 2 guys that were talking about how they were convinced. These are two financial guys convinced the United States is going into a Great Depression. Number one, reason why U.S. companies announced 1,494 new jobs in August. 1,494 new jobs in August. Layoffs surged 39% month over month. We're going to get 90,000 layoffs, 86,000 to be more exact. 86,000.
I thought America was so hot.
No, not a hot
so
economy.
Hot.
It's in the fucking toilet. Layoff plans are swelling. Job growth is increasingly carried by healthcare and social assistance. These are programs they're actively trying to cut. So the U.S. trade deficit, as a result, ballooned to $78.3 billion. $78.3 billion. Another billion on top of the last estimate they made for this last quarter, which was $77.9 billion. The goods-only gap soared to
the year.
For the quarter, soared $103.6 billion. That's up 22%. And this is a gut check situation because the American economy is in the fucking toilet when it comes to their GDP, when it comes to the jobs numbers, when it comes to the consumer confidence index, rather. All of this comes from Donald Trump. Every major indicator of the disaster which is currently the U.S. economy. Tariffs lift costs, margins compress. Hiring freezes become selective layoffs, hours get shaved. Openings fall below numbers employed. We're already there. I mean, you've got way more people getting laid off, like tens of thousands of people every month getting more laid off as opposed to getting hired. Households are now freezing spending. Confidence has been destroyed. You can't revise this economy to be something. It's not even if you hire the BLS person that puts these numbers out, which you did, if you remember this a month and a half, 2 months ago, these numbers are going to come out and they're bulletproof because you have so many investors that are so invested in the United States of America that they're ringing the bell, telling everybody else to get their fucking money out of the United States because it doesn't work under Donald Trump.
And it's by design. This is not some accident. He has designed the destruction of the American capitalist system. I mean, that's just clear because we said it when he and Great Liberation Day, whatever he called it way back when he introduced these tariffs, we were on the air that day and we said, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get runaway inflation. You're going to get the US dollar tanking. He wants to get the US dollar to stop being the reserve of choice by any government or any other people who use the reserve. So this is playing right into the hands of China and, well, specifically China. It really is helping them a lot. Yeah. And one of the things we saw this last weekend was that, that summit which featured Modi and Putin and Xi and Kim Jong-un, the dictators club, basically, all chumming it up because they've been able to find a way to replace the US dollar using this. Using BRICS as an alternative to SWIFT and a whole bunch of other things. But, this is really an on-purpose decline that he's trying to do. He's trying to soften the dollar completely. He's even trying to destroy the US dollar. He would like to see the US dollar collapse, I believe.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think if the US dollar collapsed, that makes him a much richer individual. I mean, everything he does is out of self-interest, right? He's collapsing the US economy. He's killing the jobs market. Inflation is out of control. He's trying to control the Fed so that he can control the narrative. This is today was a very dark dispatch, if you will, in terms of America's economy and real economists, like guys that are not associated with Donald Trump. Real economists are like, this isn't Great Recession. This is Great Depression era jobs numbers. And it's a trend. And if this continues for the next 6 to 12 months, because it's a slow burn to a Great Depression, America will be cap in hand, long lineups for food stamps, and you got a president of the United States who does not give a single shit about any of those people.
In fact, what he's trying to do, this is our number 3 story, is take over the Fed directly. So Stephen Moran, he's the new guy that Trump has proposed, is nominating for the position on the Fed. Stephen Moran plans to serve on the Federal Reserve Board while keeping his White House position on unpaid leave. He wants to work in the White House and the Federal Reserve at the same time. The Federal
Reserve conflict of interest. gentlemen.
It's meant to be completely independent. I mean, it's not something you can have your staffers sit on, taking notes or whatever they do. So when senators asked why he wants a 4-month Fed stint while hedging his bets, Moran claimed he could remain independent while literally planning to return to Trump's economic team. Now, of course, he'll never leave the team. He'll be directly in contact with them all the time. And this is, the Federal Reserve Board is an important board. The destruction that this man is causing to all these independent institutions is the reason why most investors are hedging their bets against the United States right now. There's so much uncertainty, there's so much confusion, and there's so much fear around what he is doing that it's really causing the world to turn away from America.
Yeah. Something happened in Canada yesterday. A company, a European company, an LNG European company, struck a deal with Canada for a $15 billion investment into an offshore LNG port. And first of all, what I loved about it is it's not possible without Mark Carney changing regulations, policy to be able to bring business to Canada so we can control our economy. I love that part of this. But it spoke volumes to the inclusivity that Mark Carney is trying to open up when it comes to Canada's economy, but it also is juxtaposed to what we're seeing out of the United States, which is this isolationist approach. And that isolationist approach is going to kill the U.S. economy. Whether it's tariffs, whether it's, having fucking fake economists like Ron Vera, who's Peter Navarro, that's his pen name as a fake economist, and listening to the wrong people to do the wrong things. But it also, to your point, speaks to the desire of one Donald John Trump's ability and interest in destroying the U.S. economy and the Fed and the dollar. I mean, you've got two different nations going two different directions that share the longest line of unprotected border in the fucking world, thousands and thousands and thousands of kilometers or miles, depending on where you're from.
Yeah,
and what happened today with those job numbers was just this, like, for me as a Canadian, as someone who is so grateful to have, a guy with a PhD in economics, world trade policy, a guy that's run two different national banks, for him to be able to have the foresight to be able to relax legislation, to be able to get people involved in investing in Canada. $15 billion is not a small amount of money.
Yeah.
And I look at Donald Trump and I look at him trying to get that money from individuals from the United States in these fake tariffs, which were just ruled fucking illegal.
Yeah, which they may not even get to keep, right? I mean, they may have to be all returned.
You know how much that bill is? You know how much the bill is to return if these, because he's now on his fourth appeal of these tariffs being deemed illegal. Do you know how much that bill is for American taxpayers? For you, my American friends, you know how much that bill is?
I mean, right now it's what?
$160 billion he's going to have to reimburse people.
Unbelievable. It's interesting. You know what I think would be a great currency for people to invest in is the Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar might be a better standard than the renminbi or the yuan. I mean, there is a way here for us to really have a dollar that's, I think it's pegged to gold, isn't it?
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very, very stable currency, and maybe people should be considering the Canadian dollar as an alternative to the American dollar, and maybe the Carney government should be pushing that as a way of boosting the Canadian economy.
They are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So well done. You're just as smart as fucking Mark Carney. There you go.
I thought that was a good idea.
Well, they're also selling Canadian Treasury bonds in U.S. dollars.
Yeah. Right.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Carney's a smart cat, dude. I mean, studying contrast between two nations going two very separate directions.
We have very little time here, so let's just try to do number 2, which is the administration is halting hundreds of millions in military aid to NATO's eastern flank. This is a big deal, including Baltic Security Initiative that protects Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania from Russian aggression. So the United States, in its wisdom, is at the time when these countries are really at risk of attack by Russia, is now saying that defense officials have informed European allies last week that that shifting priorities, is the term they used, meant ending programs that have fortified the continent since 2018. unbelievable. Follows that Alaska summit with Putin and Trump. Clearly, something happened at that summit, which really reoriented Trump's foreign policy and his military policy. And I'd be keen to know exactly what Pete Hegseth got his marching orders from during that summit, because it's very unusual for them to be doing this.
Yeah, so this is effectively the United States of America telling Baltic states they're no longer interested in protecting them. They're no longer interested in protecting them from Russia. This is one of those examples that, if you're a person that has the ability to see the forest through the trees, you look at and you go, I cannot believe a fucking word that man says anymore, because his actions dictate a very different set of circumstances than his words. And his words are ambiguous at best for a very specific reason. Is that effectively Donald Trump pulling, NATO support for the eastern flank of the Baltic states against Russia? That's him effectively greenlighting Russia's ability to be able to attack other EU countries, specifically
to start
Baltic
World War
states.
III. Let's just call it what it is. He is wanting Russia to succeed in launching World War III. And that's basically what this administration is doing right now. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. This is not just appeasement. This is treasonous. This is basically helping Vladimir Putin's agenda to attack Eastern and Western Europe and ultimately the rest of the world. This is a very, very horrifying event that is going on. And it's not getting much attention. It really should be getting a lot more attention in the news media. The number one story, if that wasn't bad enough, Beijing's most ambitious cyber attack infiltrated 80-plus countries through telecommunications networks, potentially capturing data on nearly every American citizen. So it's a year-long campaign. If you remember, this was a spy operation that they did. It gave Chinese intelligence the capability to track politicians, spies, and ordinary citizens globally through telecoms, transportation, and lodging companies. It was also able to read, if I'm not mistaken, this is from memory, the actual chat conversations that the politicians and spies, etc., were having with each other. So this is a very kind of deep penetration of every American citizen. Unlike previous targeted operations, this indiscriminate data sweep signals China's cyber capabilities much even greater than the West. They've burrowed deep into the infrastructure since 2019, and this is the result: is they now are able to track every American citizen plus 80 countries.
How's that sound?
Sounds like China's in charge, is what it sounds like. It sounds like you're certainly trying to be.
You don't hold a dictator parade and summit with a bunch of dictators saying to everybody, you're going to take over the world now because you just feel like it. You obviously have information and knowledge, and you've stolen information from every available American citizen. If you remember back in 2022, I don't know if you remember this, Canada officially banned Chinese companies from its 5G networks due to national security concerns. Huawei, ZTE. And, we never get the intelligence behind those decisions. Yeah. We just get national security concerns. Don't worry about it. This is why. Because after capturing America in 2019, they came after Canada in 2020, 2021, 2022. And it was like a light bulb went off, or our intelligence services like CSIS just decided to go, okay, we know what's happening. China is embedding their espionage in infrastructure. Yep. And they're offering free infrastructure or cheap infrastructure to Canada and United States, different countries, so that they can not just track their citizens, but also target Canadian, American, North American citizens with absolute propaganda bullshit. It's very much Doge. It's very much what Elon Musk does. But China's been ahead of the game for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have 100% tariffs on Chinese-made EVs in Canada, meaning these EVs that are coming out that do these, 360 spins, they're not developing these cars. China's not developing these cars to offer a low-cost solution to an issue with, fossil fuels. They're not trying to compete in the EV market. Everything China does is so that they can get information about other people, so they can infiltrate other societies, other countries, cars, telecommunications, infrastructure, all that stuff. And when Justin Trudeau did that, there was this fucking onslaught. And by the way, I am not a Justin Trudeau fan. A lot of people call me a libtard, a Trudeau butt licker, all that other stuff. You and I both know, like for the for the past 2 years, I've told you I can't stand the guy, right? And you're like, I don't like it. I can't. You never want to make a drama teacher or the fucking Prime Minister of the United States, kind of like, or sorry, the Prime Minister of Canada, kind of like you don't want to make a con man the fucking President of the United States. So, long story short, Canada saw the writing on the wall in 2022 and dusted everything to do with having any Chinese infrastructure in any of our telcos. That's the same story behind the chip race, right? Like, the Silicon Valley chips that are being made. Like, the big fight is about the infrastructure that goes into the technology. And China, for their foresight, was able to go, oh, if we give these people cell phone towers and we charge them way less than everybody else and we give them devices, we'll be able to track fucking everybody in that country. But they attacked the United States first out of the gate. Canada was next so that they could corner the North American market, so they could continue to conduct these insane espionage acts that are decades in the making.
Yeah.
So
this is very powerful technology that they've got in there, and it's hard for anyone to get rid of now because it's better in the technology, and they have now control over such a huge data set that they're more powerful than the American government is in terms of knowing everything there is to know about American citizens. It's a terrifying place to leave the show today.
They have information about Americans that Americans don't.
Yeah.
Suck on that today. Anyway,
and 80 other countries. So, they're all interconnected. So it's not a small story. It's a global story. And still, we think that China, or some people are thinking that China should lead the world. I mean, this is the most hostile takeover of the world's technology. And whereas people agree with him, that people think it's a good idea to let China lead the world. How's that possible? It's just
China has, and this is we'll end here.
Yeah.
If you look at popularity or approval indexes of countries, Canada ranks number 1 across the board. China has a better rating than the United States right now, globally, as far as approval rating.
Yeah.
China does. And, we're talking about a story about China stealing every American's identity, every American's personal and private information. And Americans like China more than they like America right now.
Yeah.
And globally, China is looked at as if it is this emerging economy, rising economy. It worked.
It's working right now. It's working today. A lot of work has to be done to stop it. A lot of these stories from today's FiveStack you can find at deanblundell.substack.com or at narrative.org. Both of us have 50% off our annual subscriptions right now, so check it out. Anything else you want to promote directly from your incredible Substack, which had the great clips today from the RFK Senate hearing?
No, I think that listen, I hate the hard sell. Paid subs are the best. You keep us in business. I'm so grateful for all of you, whether you're free or paid, doesn't matter. But we do what we do because we're you. I say this almost every Substack. We're you. We have the platform and the ability to be able to kind of, voice your concerns and cover for you and give you the information that you need. And more importantly, so grateful that so many people show up here every day at 3:00.
Yeah.
Yesterday we did 5.5 hours of broadcasting, and we talked to
keep the Epstein story, in front of everyone's eyes for as much of the day as possible. That was the goal of yesterday, and I think it worked to a large extent. I think we were at the top of the Substack grid all day long. So it's really important that we did that, and it's great that everyone was there to support us and watch it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it was incredible, but it was about victims for us. It was about the authenticity of the moment. And that's what, that's why we're here. And so thank you. Again, I cannot thank all of you enough for showing up today. I can't thank all of you enough for subscribing, sharing this content with people who need it. Gifting subscriptions to that maggot in your family is always a fun thing to do. And more importantly, sharing this content. More importantly, sharing this content that you could kind of, if it helps you, it'll help other people. And sharing the content of others here on Substack. If it helps you, that'll help other people understand, what's at risk, what's at stake. But more importantly, it'll help you kind of go live your life, and you give us life, and we give you life. And I've never been more grateful for, a wacky internet relationship in my life than I am right now. That I get to get a chance and to do this with you, and we get a chance to disseminate, proper information to people that they're not getting anywhere else. And so, thank you, thank you, thank you. Subscribe, share, and make sure that you do yourself and the rest of humanity a favor, and follow other people that you can trust, you can verify, because you can take anything we said here today and you can put it into script or any AI program, or you can fact check everything we've talked about today. And I can guarantee you that it'll come back aces, green lights, thumbs up, because we take this very, very seriously. So I cannot thank anybody enough, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up again today.
And that is the FiveStack. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, all.